why 2025, 2026 is the next critical juncture for the property market. Because so how do you navigate navigating the market in 2022? For those of you who follow us, again, right, we have always emphasized or always preach, right, with knowledge breeds confidence. So by tuning in, by watching this video, it's a good step that you guys are taking, right? You want to absorb knowledge, and hopefully with knowledge it gives you a little bit more confidence in making your move moving forward. So what I want all of you to do is to focus on the things that don't change, right? That doesn't change because we are entering 2022, because interest rates are going up, because there's cooling measures. For example, right, the supply side charts, right, which I won't touch on today because I touch on it every single Facebook live. But if you don't know what I'm talking about, couple of things you can do. You can jump onto one of my previous Facebook live videos, especially the 2021-2022 video, whereby I talk about it a little bit. Focus on what doesn't change. Okay. Another thing that doesn't change is that the number of HDBs that they're going to hit is MOP. That doesn't change as well. We are going to see historically high numbers of HDBs hitting their MOP in 2022. So a lot more upgraders are going to come onto the market, right? So if you are currently a upgrader that has already hit your MOP and you are waiting, so that's another thing that I'm going to talk about later on, right? You got to understand what are you waiting for. So focus on the things that don't change. Okay, interest rate coming up. I think today's newspaper article have just shared. Right, we've shared that in the Right Moves Instagram and also Facebook page. Stated that the increase in interest rates have very low impact on the real estate market for the Singapore property especially. So that's not going to change much, right? The cooling measures, go and watch our cooling measures video, right? We also don't expect that to impact the market much. For HDB upgraders, you got to know where the HDB market is headed in the next 10 years, right? Or if you don't know where it's going to head in the next 10 years, if that's too much to ask, right, at least know where it's headed to in the next 2 to 3 years. Is this price increment sustainable? We talked about it a lot, right? But for the benefit of those of you who are with us for the first few times or the first time, right, how my take on the HDB market, is this increase sustainable? The answer is no. This increase in demand for HDB in the resale market last year and this year, starting from 2020, is because of the delay in BTO construction, and that the government is making is taking all necessary steps to try and alleviate that issue that's plaguing the market at this point in time. If you really do analyze the cooling measures deeply, I shared this I think in one of the videos, right? With the government warning the developers, penalizing the developers with that significant increase in their ABSD, they are trying to control the supply coming online in the private market. As we have seen, right, it's working. So as we have seen with the decrease in number of bidders for Jalan Tembusu, as opposed to the number of bidders in the GLS before the cooling measures were launched, that were nudging above 10-12 bidders. So it's working. So if the developers don't buy up so much land, don't do so much en bloc, that frees up construction capacity for the BTOs, right? They also have came up to say after the release of the cooling measures that they are increasing the supply of HDBs into the market, averaging 20,000 over the next 2 to 3 years, and that's going to force a lot of supply to come into the HDB market for, you know, what I see as not significant increase in demand. The increase in demand for the resale market in this couple of years artificially created because of the delay in BTO construction. Okay, so increased supply stagnant or decreasing demand, because once the BTOs they are not telling you that you have to wait 6 to 7 years to collect. They are now telling you maybe wait 3 to 4 years. Back to original, the demand is going to shift back into BTOs, and so stagnant or lowering demand for increasing supply. There's only one answer to where the prices are headed. Okay. Where the private market is headed in the next 5 to 10 years. Of course, if you can foresee it 10 years, great, right? If not, at least within the next 5 years, focus on the supply side issues. 2025, the next point. Why 2025, 2026 is the next critical juncture for the property market, because that is where all this undersupply in the market, in the private market, is going to come to head. It's gonna really impact the market, because the fact that the government has not been releasing enough land between 2020, 2021, as a matter of fact, ever since the last cooling measures in 2018, so 2019, 2020, 2021, very little land sale, very little en bloc. All of this is going to result in a prolonged period of little to no TOP in the very little TOP. I cannot say no TOP. Very little TOP in the market, and that's going to force prices to come up significantly. Later, I will share with you some of the data that I've pulled up. So you got to be able to answer all these questions, right? Do you know with great certainty where are all these points? And I've listed out 3 main ones and I've talked about this in the videos that we have. Of course, if you can't answer these questions, don't worry, follow through the thing, right? I'll share with you how we can help you answer all these questions later on.